I brought home a girl and during the heat of the moment she started screaming on the top of her lungs, like her vocal cords were about to explode. I'm not all that impressive in bed, screaming to go harder and just yelling till her face turned blue. I lived with my parents in a small house, my room was right next to theirs. They were home. Larry, it is time you got your own place. I need to know how the next morning went with Mom and Dad. The next morning she left and my parents were awake making coffee in the kitchen. They didn't say anything when we walked out and then when I came back inside they said, "What the hell was that last night?" And I just said I have no clue, that chick was fucking crazy, and we all awkwardly laughed as I ran back in my room. My parents are down to earth and we are very close, so it wasn't a disaster. Just super weird. I went out with this girl, who had a bit more than a blindfold fetish. She would keep it on long after sex, often to the next morning. Then she wanted to go on whole dates surreptitiously blindfolded, with blacked out sunglasses. Her whole personality would change when she was blindfolded, in kind of a nice way, extremely affectionate and very girly. To be honest, I liked blindfolded A's personality a lot better than regular A's. It was weird, but super cute. Eventually, she found a website that sold blacked out contact lenses you couldn't see through, so we could continue in public. We would go out on dates outside our usual circles where people only knew her as my blind girlfriend. We broke up a while ago, but we still sometimes go out together as my blind friend. These Bird Box challenges are getting out of hand. Bite my nipples, and I was like, bite? Bite? Forceful, bite? And she was like, yes. I did and she said, bite me harder. I did and she said, harder. That was the most fearful bite I've ever had in my life. That's when you go out and buy her a good set of nipple clamps. Given that we're still friends and her birthday is only a month away, I thank you for the gift suggestion, my good sir. See if you can find ones that are adjustable. Some have a dial at the clip to increase tension. Think vice grips. I say this because some days she will want a sharp odam pain, and others will be a longer oist's pain. Let's drench ourselves in Coca-Cola and have sex. I wanted to give you a carbonated blowjob. This better not awaken something in me. I thought the same. Too late. Carbonate me, baby. I dated a guy briefly that couldn't get off unless I choked him until he passed out. I'd choke him, keep on writing, then when he came to, he came. This is how it had to be every time or he wouldn't finish. It didn't last long. It was weird. I had a guy tell me he wanted to put a baby in me and asked me to say, "Give me a baby." As he came. We had known each other for less than a week. I jokingly blew raspberries, the thing where you purse your lips and make a fart noise, like on a baby's belly to make them laugh, on my ex's clit at the beginning of what was supposed to be normal cunnilingus. As I switched over to traditional pussy eating, she was laughing and said, "No, keep doing the other thing." So I brought her to orgasm with raspberries in record time for us, like 3 or 4 minutes. Probably would have been quicker if we both could stop laughing. She was really embarrassed about it for some reason and wouldn't let me ever do it again despite me trying a few times. Her being easily embarrassed was kinda common. Whenever I was pumping during intercourse and air would get trapped and make that suction farting noise, if I laughed even slightly she'd start crying from humiliation and we'd have to stop having sex. And everyone knows the way to make something infinitely funnier is to demand no one laughs at it. Do not laugh at the silly farting noise. Edit. I wanted to add something important that many people are mentioning in the comments, which is that blowing air into the vagina is dangerous and can possibly cause an embolism, which is very, very bad and often fatal. Please don't kill your girlfriend/wife with a raspberry. The first time I queefed after sex I was so mortified I cried for half an hour. My BF at the time was being really supportive, telling me it was normal and didn't bother him, but I was so embarrassed. Now, 15 years later, it really is just a funny sound that happens and I am able to laugh about it. But damn, I was so upset that first time. She asked me to run a sharp knife along her back. Enough to break and cut the skin, but not deep enough to require serious medical attention. That was a solid no from me. Pro tip: if you leave a spoon in the freezer and use the edge of it, you can create a feeling similar to a knife edge without cutting someone. It works if they aren't able to see what you're using. This guy spoons. Hey, I see you've played knifey spoony before. Pro tip: if you leave a spoon in the freezer and use the edge of it, you can create a feeling similar to a knife edge without cutting someone. It works if they aren't able to see what you're using. I want to read the books you've been reading. It was with a girl I'd been with for a couple of months. Girl said, "I can't wait to taste your blood." I responded with, "I definitely can't say the same." She was not pleased. Yeah, I had a girl who was into knife play, And the last time we hooked up she cut my chest. It wasn't deep but she licked up my blood and then handed me the knife to do the same to her. I left because, 1. She didn't ask if it was okay to. I don't trust myself to cut someone during sex. Edit because I realized this wasn't clear, I was okay with and had consented to knife play, it was her cutting me deliberately that had never been consented to. However, I never felt my life was in danger and did not feel the need to defend myself, leaving was plenty for the situation at hand. Jesus, that's fucked up. Just cutting someone without asking? I'd be pissed. When my ex wanted to swallow my sailors she would say give me my chicken and dumplings. It was odd, but never threw me off. This requires more attention. From a professional. Girl I dated had rape fantasies. It was odd. It escalated from her asking me to hold a knife to her throat to asking for me to hold a gun to her head. Not one to disappoint, I brought my small revolver. Unloaded obviously, and during us fucking, she took my hand with the gun and held it to her head. At that point, she noticed it was unloaded and said what the fuck? Why are you being such a pussy about this? Nope, nope nope nope. I'm not going to jail. Holy shit. Dodged a bullet right there. You have no idea. We had some really wild sex. She brought her adopted sister to join. One time I made her wear a paper bag on her head. You know how hard it was finding a paper bag? Hadn't heard from her in years, and sometime last year, she found me on social media and we briefly spoke. She lost custody of her kid, divorced her husband, and was living with friends strung out on meth. I wonder how that conversation with her sister went. She wanted me to dress in a ski mask and pretend to be a home intruder. Then she shoots and kills you in the perfect murder. Point your toes for me dude, watched synchronized swimming as porn. What a fucking fascinating individual. I am intrigued and mildly terrified. She stopped mid-sex and told me put on your Batman mask and treat me like a whore. I'm okay but did you do it? Bet your ass I did. She called me Batman the rest of the sex. I've never felt more powerful. She sounds like a girl you want to introduce to your parents. Wait. Went home with a girl, after a while she rode me on her couch. Looks up at the ceiling fan and said this is where my husband hung himself and I lost my chubby. Holy fuck. I used to have long hair and people would tell me I looked like Jesus. Anyway, I was fucking a girl and she asked me to lay down with my arms out and my legs together as if I were on a cross. It was very weird but of course I complied. Afterwards she thanked me for being her Jesus. Edit, the same girl once asked me aren't you gonna lick it off? About my cum on her stomach. Edit 2, I didn't lick my own cum off of her stomach. At one point, was dating this chick about 4 years older than me. Refuses to have sex with me unless I called her mommy. The incident that broke the camel's back for me was that she wanted me to nut in her, so I did and she proclaimed, I'm gonna have my son's baby. Context, she was a coworker and seemed quite decent, everyone said she was just the girl next door type. The girl next door is a freak. Pull out her pubic hair, not very sexy. Fucking. Sure why not? I'll try anything twice. The first time to see if it kills me, the second time to see if I like it. Maybe she wanted a free wax, man shrugging. Asked for pictures of my teeth. It escalated into requesting full-on dental records. I later learned he had a dental chair set up and everything for sex purposes. Weirdest thing is that he had no dentistry in his background. Yeah, that guy was a serial killer. My father was a dentist. We donated one of his dental chairs to a sex dungeon after he died. The people at the dungeon were thrilled. Fuck. This isn't crazy weird but I still want to share it here, hope you enjoy. I had this friends with benefits thing going on with a guy that I had met about 3 months before we proceeded to actually do anything. Our kinks were a thing we talked openly about and kinda joked around with them, so I thought that he knew me well enough and vice versa for us to actually have sex and act upon the things we had discussed. It all started pretty well, he was being rough with me and I liked it. Then after a few minutes of foreplay and all that, he paused completely and asked me if I was alright. I appreciate being taken care of, but he was literally inside me, choking me and then just stops to ask this when he could have just asked if my color was still green. Well, I nod and say that he can continue. Instead of doing so, he lets go of me and backs off of me. He seemed completely freaked out. I got up and asked if he was okay. He started telling me that he's sorry and that he's a bad person for hurting me. I made him sit down and he actually started crying, so I cuddled him and told him it's all good. Turns out he hadn't been this rough with anyone before and only did this because he really liked me and hoped that I'd like him back if he was able to do all the things I liked. We've been dating for 8 months now and he's the sweetest thing there is. Wholesome kink story smile. My current boyfriend is this way. I love rough sex, but when he and I started sleeping together he was always gentle, very affectionate, and admitted he did not like hurting his partners. We've worked up to him slapping my ass and he doesn't mind and he knows I enjoy it. Love that man to pieces. A previous girlfriend once moaned her own name whilst she came. Weirdest and funniest thing I've ever heard. She could never really explain why. She went full Pokemon, dude. This is how it shall be forever referred to in future. I did this multiple times accidentally. Am I the girl? Oh god. Haha, maybe. Or maybe it's just way more common than I realized. She asked me to put a lollipop in her pussy and then eat it. I did. Tasted alright to be fair. That's how you get yourself a yeast infection. Do you want ants? Because this is how you get ants. She told me to hit her. I gave her a light bitch slap. But she didn't mean slap her, she meant _hit her, as in with my fist. I didn't do it. This same thing happened to me. I did a light slap and she laughed and told me to make her bleed. I said fuck no and she said okay and we just kept going lol. She wanted me to say terrible things about her. That's how I found out physical abuse is much easier to provide on request than emotional abuse. Gosh, you're such a bad girl. Your handwriting is terrible. You're gonna go through life having constant life-changing epiphanies, and you're gonna think this time it'll be different but it won't. You're addicted to the high of grand gestures and you're too lazy to follow through. You're lazy, you have no work ethic. You dream of a better life, but you couldn't actually handle it. So instead you choose to exist in the squalor of mediocrity blaming everyone else. Now take this cock, you whore. Edit, award speech edit blah blah blah. Damn, you might as well just slammed her into the headboard. Damn, almost took that shit personally until the last part. Edit, thanks Reddit, my highest voted comment is semi-erotic / semi-self-loathing. That's when I knew it was about me. Girl really wanted to blindfold me, handcuff me and then start cutting me with a knife. I said no. You should be happy she told you about the knife part beforehand. Edit, thanks for the silver kind stranger.